inside this home on the New South Wales Central Coast, a bold retirement experiment is in its 10th year. One sprawling house, 3 retired couples.
Out, 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 out. You've got your own thing over there.
Who've pooled their savings to make the best of their golden years.
Good, good.
I think it was more of an adventure.
I think
Really?
it was not to end up in aged care.
Certainly that, but then, you know,
Take care of
where
each
can we
other.
go and build something, create something that we would like?
Home is where I want to be. Pick me up and turn me around.
What they created was 3 houses in one. Michael and Judy Hollingworth live in one wing. Their American friends, Daniel and Eve Grzybowski, live in another.
What didn't you want your retirement to be?
Anything that seemed to be what everybody was doing in retirement. Moving into a retirement village, hanging out strictly with other people who were retired and getting old and no young people around. There didn't seem to be any options that seemed very attractive.
The third couple are Canadians, Rick and Heather Bolster.
Cheers.
I didn't want the life that my parents had, which was isolation, growing old, getting more and more rigid in their lives and set in their ways and never getting out and seeing anything anymore, and kind of withering into old age.
Like the menace in Jaws.
And so I didn't want that for myself. I didn't want a conventional old folks' home, you know, a retirement village where we go and it's just the two of us. I mean, we wanted something else.
The idea of finding something else first came up 18 years ago. Back then, all 3 couples lived in their own homes in suburban Sydney. They were good mates, even took holidays together. One night at dinner, they started talking about the years ahead.
So what was your worst fear about growing old?
Finish up in a retirement home.
Complete loss of autonomy, loss of interest in life, and what was the other
No
thing?
stimulation.
No social, you know, like dull, flat, boring.
And you go the other way just to unwind.
It was what all 3 couples were determined to avoid. Eve was the first to suggest that perhaps they could live together and look after each other.
Everybody wants to take ownership of the idea, but I think it was my idea. And I said, well, what if we do this, you know, we live together? You know, we all want to retire. We all want a gentler lifestyle. So what if we all did it together, you know, see what it's like?
How many movies have been made in the Mad Max franchise?
4. 3 old and 1 new.
But not everyone was on board. Daniel had his doubts.
Initially, I was willing to humor the others because I didn't think there was any hope of this sort of thing happening. I did have plenty of share houses when I was younger, and I thought, this is not necessarily a great idea.
So first, they took a test drive of their idea, renting a large house in Sydney together for 2 years. It was only then that they decided to take the big leap, sell up and construct a purpose-built house they could all share for the rest of their lives. The initial investment was about $250,000 per couple.
Thank you so much for having me over for lunch. This looks amazing.
This is a do-it-yourself retirement home.
Now, who'd like a bit of white?
Yeah, that is good.
You've been friends for decades and you holidayed together. Clearly very good friends to come up with this plan. Do you still like each other as much now that you've lived together, or do you like each other more?
I'd say more.
It depends on the day.
It's an arrangement that seems to be working out well for everyone. But what happens in the years ahead when they may not be as healthy and active as they are today?
Should have brought out the china for this.
We've got a staged plan. Look after each other, get in home care. When it's getting too much of that, then we'll have live-in home care.
If
Up in
necessary.
the shed if necessary.
Or if it
You know,
works.
we've got stages of how long can we run this out before we're obliged to step out of it altogether. And hopefully, die here.
What concerns me most is that the exit strategy for this. As people age, can they all look after or put in the same amount of energy into a property? Because a property that's 4 acres requires upkeep.
Brett Steen is a financial planner who specialises in helping people get retirement ready. His biggest red flag is if there's a serious health issue or a falling out among the couples.
I believe the most important question to ask is, are we all willing to sell? Because if it can't work, if something goes wrong, are we all willing to get out?
It's almost like a marriage with 6 people in it. And when you look at how messy a divorce with 2 people in it can get, is it fraught with danger?
Well, people are often more forgiving for friends than they are for partners, so that's nice. But it is fraught with danger. I want them to all die on the same day, all be happy, and it'll be fantastic. It'll be one of those experiments that'll be written up for years to come. But it's probably not going to be like that. Someone will need to move on, or members within each couple will need to move on. That's hard.